Alright gang, welcome to Hanson Speed Shop for another custom Hot Wheels build. Today, going to 2007, and we're going to be building this track tee, which is a super cool, old school tea bucket. We're going to be doing this one as kind of an early 50s show rod, so this should be pretty cool. The idea for this car is to kind of retain as much of what comes on the car from Hot Wheels, and just maybe do a wheel swap and some detailing and try to make this thing as cool as possible, without having to do any extreme modifying on this car. So let's get this thing cracked open and we'll go from there. I'm wanting to do a tea bucket for a while now. Found this one for like $1 at kind of a junk store, I guess you could call it. So here's the car. It's pretty cool. It kind of has that Dry Lakes, kind of a speedster look to it. Just a single seat. So the idea that I have for this car is, first of all, we're going to be getting rid of these ugly 5-dot wheels. I'm going to take some acetone and get rid of these kind of lame tribal flames on here. It looks like the car has like a 4-cylinder in it, probably a flathead 4, which was pretty common actually back in the 40s and even into the 50s. A lot of guys ran hopped up 4-cylinders, just because that's basically what came in every Model T and Model A from the factory was a 4-cylinder. So if you got one to build into a car, that's what was already in there. And a lot of guys just worked with what they had, or, you could get them for literally nothing back then. And they did make a lot of hop-up parts back in the day for those. For me personally, I would never have a hot rod with a 4-cylinder in it. But that's what this car has, and it's a metal-based car, so it's going to be kind of difficult to get that out of there and everything. So I think I'm just going to detail it out, make it look really cool. It is pretty hopped up. Looks like it's got 4 carbs on it and stuff. So, and then we're just going to detail the chassis and interior out. So the next step is going to be to get this thing, take it apart. We'll take a closer look at what we're actually working with, and then we'll go from there. Back on our track T, which is a Ford T Roadster, and we're building this thing into a early 50s kind of Dry Lakes style car, kind of an early 50s show car. And I've got the whole thing torn apart. Basically this is what we have here. And in a single seat, here's part of our engine with the carbs and exhaust and our headlights. Here's our body. I took some acetone and got rid of those kind of lame tribal flames that were on here. So that turned out pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. Shouldn't need to repaint the body. Here's our dash, steering wheel, and kind of our interior cover, and then here's our chassis. I got these wheels from Matchbox, and I did not know this till I started building this car, that they actually make this wheel in 2 sizes. This is the real small version. This is the black and chrome version, but I don't know if you can tell on camera, but this one is slightly bigger than this one. So I'm going to find the chrome trim ring, outer trim ring, with the slightly bigger, and we'll run those on the back, and then the slightly smaller ones up front. I think that's going to give this car kind of a nice early 50s hot rod look to it. And kind of give it a little bit of a stance too. That way you've got a little bit smaller up front. They're not a ton smaller, but just enough that it should make a little bit of a difference. But otherwise, all we have left to do on here is just detailing the seat, the engine, chassis, This is molded in white plastic, so I'm not sure if I might paint that just for so it doesn't look so plasticky. But that's the car so far. It's coming along pretty good. I think since basically all that's left to do is just detailing a pretty simple car, the next time you see it will be at the final unveil, so stay tuned. Okay, so I decided to do one more little update before we get to the final unveil. Like I just said earlier, all we really have to do is some detailing on the car and kind of final assembly. But I want to show you one more thing. So these are going to be the wheels that we're using. As you can see, this will be the front wheel and this will be the back wheel. So there is a size difference like I talked about. It would be nice if they made like one size bigger than this even. That way I could like use these up front and then have a little bit bigger in the back. But it's all we have to work with, so it's better than nothing. And then if you ever are dealing with Hot Wheels or Matchbox that was made like in the 90s or earlier, they used a lot of different size axle widths, I've noticed, compared to like nowadays. I think Hot Wheels really, for the most part, has like 3 different axle widths. They have like a narrow, kind of a mid width, and then a real wide width. And kind of same with Matchbox. They've went more of a standardization on their axle widths. So when you're trying to retrofit more modern wheels onto older casting from the, say, the 80s or the 70s, or like this car was done in the 90s, they sometimes have real weird sized axle widths, which is the case with this car. So I couldn't find anything really from modern Hot Wheels or Matchbox that is the correct width. This car had those ugly 5-dot wheels on it. Pretty real wide axles. So obviously we got like this I would call the narrowest width from Hot Wheels or Matchbox. And then this width I would say is like the mid width, and then there's one size wider. None of those fit on our chassis, so we're going to have to make axles out of our aluminum tubing. And then to get the aluminum tubing to fit in our chassis, obviously you can see it doesn't quite fit down far enough, so we're going to have to channel the front of the chassis and the back of the chassis out, which this is a lot of extra work. I usually, like, if I can avoid having to do this, I usually try to, but sometimes there's just not really a way around it. If you want to run a certain wheel and tire combo, you just got to do the extra work. But just keep that in mind. If you're doing work on older castings and trying to put modern wheels on it, sometimes they're real oddball widths, and you're going to have to do this extra step to get them to work if that's what you want for your final look to be. So again, we'll see you at the final unveil of our early 50s show T kind of Dry Lakes Speedster. So it should be pretty sweet when it's done. I think you're going to dig it, and we'll see you at the final unveil. Alright gang, it's time for the final unveil of our track T, which we did up as kind of an early 50s style Lakester Dry Lakes car, kind of show car. And this thing came out really cool. I started having some doubts about it kind of early on in the build, but as I started detailing this thing, and the wheels on the car just really brought the whole thing together for me, and it turned out really nice. First thing we did on the car, as you've seen, I took some acetone, got rid of those lame tribal flames. Just wanted a nice all gloss black body. Didn't have to repaint or anything. Just was able to retain the original Hot Wheel paint. I did this top cover in a nice satin white and then detailed out all the snaps in chrome. And then as you see, we did the interior out. The seats satin white, and then I did the carpet in a satin black, and then I did the dash in a body color gloss black with a white wheel. Did the engine block in gloss red, and then everything else is done up in chrome. Then I did these nice Matchbox wheels on here, slightly bigger in the rear. Gave just enough stance and just enough rake to the car to give it that cool hot rod look. Just really has a nice cool look to it. Really happy with this car. Did the whole chassis out gloss black, which we'll look at in just a second. Here's the other side of the car. Did the carb zone chrome. This thing just looks a lot nicer too, as you can see, with the frame being black versus just that stock kind of die-cast Zamac colored chassis. Just looks a lot nicer having the chassis being black, I think. I debated about doing the grill insert chrome as well, but I think it just kind of looks cleaner and nicer just having that black. So I left it black. So we'll flip the thing over and take a look underneath of the car. Pretty simple. I just left the rear brake drums, or I painted the rear brake drums chrome, and then the center section on the rear end chrome, and the front end in the exhaust obviously is chrome. Otherwise everything else I did out gloss black. A pretty simple little car, but just like some different wheels and some detailing, and I think it just totally made a world of difference. So if you guys dig it, let me know. If you like the car, if you like what we're doing here at Hanson Speed Shop, or if you're a new viewer, maybe you want to head on over to the channel. There's tons of cool stuff on there. And if you dig some of it, there's more of it coming, so hit that subscribe button. Otherwise, as always, till next time, get out, work on your own projects, get your hands dirty, stay cool, and we'll see you on the next one. Stick around for some more pictures of the T. Otherwise, thanks for watching.